There is a version of you who wakes up tomorrow and feels a heavy weight sit on his chest before his feet even touch the floor. And there is another version of you living the exact same life with the exact same bills, the exact same hard people around him, who wakes up calm, clear, steady, unshakable. The scary part is both versions of you could be alive right now, this exact hour, and the only thing that separates them is not luck, it is not money, it is not who you know. It is a handful of small choices you have probably never even noticed you were making. And by the end of this video, you will never miss them again. Welcome back to Stoic Discipline, the channel where old philosophy stops sitting in a museum and becomes a weapon you carry into your Monday morning. If you are new here, we take the hardest lessons from men who ruled empires, survived slavery, and stared down death without blinking, and we turn them into tools you can use before your coffee gets cold. If that sounds like something you need, stay to the end. This is the kind of video men come back to more than once. Here is the truth nobody tells you about the phrase, live your best life. Somewhere along the way, it got stolen. It got turned into a highlight reel, a vacation photo, a 5 a.m. wake-up call that makes you feel worse about yourself, not better. Real life is not a highlight reel. Real life is a car that will not start, a boss who cuts you down in front of the team, a body that aches in ways it did not used to, a bank account that never says what you want it to say. Ancient men knew this 2,000 years ago, and they did not build a philosophy to escape that reality. They built one to meet it so completely that nothing in it could break them. Today you are not getting 7 soft affirmations to whisper in a mirror. You are getting a system, tested for centuries, used by an emperor who ruled from horseback on a frozen battlefield, a man born into slavery who turned his pain into words the whole world still quotes, and a rich advisor to a tyrant who wrote about simple living while sitting on a fortune. Their lives had nothing in common. Their pain had nothing in common. And yet all three of them, through suffering, landed on the exact same answers about what it means to live well. Before we go further, do one thing for me. Type the word discipline in the comments right now if you are ready to actually use this instead of just watching it. I read every one. It tells me this is landing with real men trying to build a real life, not men killing 5 minutes on a lunch break. Now let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand, before any lesson, before any quote means anything to you, is where your pain actually comes from. Right now, you probably believe your bad days are caused by outside events. The traffic, the comment your coworker made, the message you are still waiting on. That belief, so common that almost nobody questions it, is the exact belief these men spent their whole lives trying to tear down. One of them was born into slavery in what is now Turkey. His leg was crushed, some say by a master's cruelty. He did not choose that life. And yet centuries later, his words sit in the pockets of soldiers, athletes, and CEOs, because he found something that circumstance could never take from him. He wrote that people are not disturbed by events, they are disturbed by their own opinion of the event. Read that again. It is the floor everything else in this video stands on. It is not the traffic that ruins your morning. It is the story you tell yourself about the traffic, that you are always late, that the day is already ruined, the event is neutral, your mind does the damage. His name was Epictetus, and he is only the beginning. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, because I get this comment every time. That sounds nice, but my problems are real. My debt is real. My diagnosis is real. You are right. Nobody in this philosophy ever asked you to pretend hard things are not hard. The emperor I mentioned ruled during a plague that killed millions. He fought wars for most of his adult life. He buried children. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and in a private journal he never meant for anyone else to read, he wrote that the mind bends and adjusts to whatever it is thrown into, that what stands in the way becomes the way. He was not denying the plague. He was refusing to let the plague also take his character. This is the first shift I need you to make today. Pause for 3 seconds after I say this. Think of one thing that has quietly ruined your mood on a loop this week. Got it? Now ask yourself, honestly, is that thing happening to you right now, this second, or are you replaying something that already ended, or rehearsing something that has not even arrived? Most of your suffering lives in one of those two places, almost never in the actual 5 seconds you are standing in. This single idea has a name in modern psychology: cognitive reframing. But Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mapped it 2,000 years before therapy existed. And once it clicks, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking a sharper question. What is inside my control here, and what is not? Which brings us to the one idea I would call the single most useful tool in this entire philosophy. If you take only one thing from today, take this. It is called the dichotomy of control. Epictetus opened his whole teaching with it, because he believed it was the door you had to walk through before anything else made sense. Some things are up to us, some things are not. Up to us, our judgments, our effort, our choices. Not up to us, our body, our money, our reputation, what other people think of us. Now think about how much of your daily stress comes from trying to control things that were never yours to hold. You cannot control whether your boss respects you. You cannot control the market. You cannot control whether the person you love gets sick. And yet look at how much energy you burn every day trying anyway. Here is what actually belongs to you: your judgment, your effort, your response. That list is short, almost insultingly short. But here is the secret nobody tells you. Because that list is short, it is also completely yours to master. Let me prove it with a story. A foreman named Daniel ran a small crew on a construction site. One morning, a supplier missed a delivery. The whole schedule collapsed, and his site manager tore into him in front of his own men. The old Daniel would have gone home that night replaying every word, imagining what he should have said back, letting the anger follow him into his kitchen, his bed, his next morning. Instead, Daniel asked himself one question before he reacted: is this inside my control? The missed delivery, no. The manager's tone, no. His own next move, yes. So he rebuilt the schedule, said one calm sentence to his manager, and went home that night with a clear head. Nothing about his day changed. What changed was where he spent his energy. That is the whole practice. Not pretending the hit did not land, choosing where the fight actually happens, inside your control or outside it. Now let's talk about something that will feel uncomfortable, because I think most self-help videos are too scared to give you real discomfort. These men did not believe in avoiding hardship. They believed in rehearsing it. The wealthy advisor I mentioned earlier, the one who lived surrounded by fortune while writing about simple living, his name was Seneca, and Seneca practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the rehearsal of hardship. He would sit quietly and picture, in detail, the worst things that could happen to him: losing his money, being exiled, dying. Not to spiral, to take the surprise out of the blow before it ever landed. He wrote that nothing catches the prepared man off guard, because he already imagined the disaster before it arrived. This is not pessimism. Pessimism expects the worst and does nothing. This is a fire drill for your mind. Nobody calls a fire drill negative. We call it wise. Tonight, before you sleep, spend 90 seconds picturing one thing you fear, not to drown in it, to visit it, calmly, the way you check a locked door. What would your first move actually be? Who would you call? Almost every time, the plan you build in that calm 90 seconds beats the panic you would have felt if it showed up unannounced. There is a companion practice, and it might hit even harder. It is called memento mori. Remember you will die, It sounds dark until you actually sit with it, and then it becomes the clearest thought a man can have. Marcus Aurelius is said to have kept a servant whose job, during his greatest victories, was to whisper a reminder that he was mortal, so pride never turned into arrogance. He wrote that you could leave this life right now, and let that decide what you say and do today. Here is why that matters for your ordinary Tuesday, not just for an emperor. Almost everything eating at you right now will not matter in 5 years. And almost everything you keep avoiding, the hard conversation, the apology you owe, the goal you keep pushing back, matters enormously right now, because none of us know how much time we actually have to act on it. If any of this is landing, if you feel that click in your chest right now, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this reach more men standing exactly where you were 5 minutes ago, stuck, tense, looking for something real instead of another empty quote. Now let's kill a myth. People hear the word Stoic and picture something cold, emotionless, a statue. That is not what any of these men taught, and understanding the difference will change how you handle every hard emotion for the rest of your life. Between something happening to you and your reaction to it, there is a gap, a space. Most people never notice it exists, so they never use it. When something happens, your mind fires off a first read of the situation in half a second. Fear, anger, hurt pride. Most men treat that first read as the truth and act on it instantly. The trained mind pauses, even for 2 seconds, and asks, is this impression accurate? Or is this just my ego talking, my exhaustion talking? Picture this. Someone leaves you on red for 6 hours. Your mind fires instantly. They are mad at me. I did something wrong. This is falling apart. That impression arrives fully formed, urgent, demanding action. The untrained man agrees with it on the spot, and now his whole afternoon is wasted on a story his own mind wrote in half a second. Marcus Aurelius called this the power to strike out every harmful judgment, and said that the moment you do, calm follows. Not because the situation changed, because your relationship to the thought changed. Here is a tool Marcus used constantly under real pressure. He called it the view from above. He would picture himself rising higher and higher, first above his room, then his city, then the whole earth, watching entire civilizations rise and fall like passing seasons. From that height, the argument this morning, the comment that stung, the deadline that feels impossible, all of it shrinks. Not because it stops mattering, because you finally see it at its real size, instead of the size your anxious mind gave it at 3 in the morning. Now let's talk about something that touches almost every man watching this, whether he admits it or not. What you actually believe a good life requires. Because here is where this gets radical, especially in a culture that has told you since childhood that your best life needs more. More money, more followers, more square footage, an endless ladder with no top rung. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome. He was not a monk lecturing from a cave, and still he wrote that it is not the man with too little who is poor, it is the man who craves more. Modern research confirms this now. It is called the hedonic treadmill. A man who wins the lottery and a man who suffers a major setback both return, on average, to roughly the same level of happiness within about a year. Your mind is not built to stay satisfied by an outside win. It is built to move the goalpost the moment you touch it. This does not mean stop chasing goals. Marcus ran an empire. Seneca built a fortune. What these men understood is the difference between what is preferred and what is actually good. Health, money, reputation, these are fine to want. But your character, your peace, does not depend on getting them. You can chase wealth hard while staying free of needing it. Here is a small, honest question. If everything you are chasing right now landed tomorrow exactly how you picture it, would you actually feel at peace? Or is there a quiet voice in you that already knows you would just find the next thing to chase? If you are honest, you already know the answer. That is not a failure. That is proof peace was never waiting at the destination. Let's make this practical, because I never want to leave you with only ideas. Every night before bed, ask yourself 3 questions, out loud if you can, written down if you keep a journal. What did I do well today? What did I do poorly today? What did I fail to do that I should have done? This comes almost word for word from Seneca, who reviewed his entire day this way every night, checking what fault he had corrected, what habit he had cured. Notice this does not measure your day by outcomes you cannot control. It measures the only thing that was ever yours, your effort, your character. There is one discipline left, and I saved it for last, because it only makes sense after everything else. It is called amor fati, love of fate. And it might be the hardest practice in this entire philosophy, because it does not just ask you to accept what you cannot control. It asks you to meet it without wishing it had gone differently. Epictetus said it plainly, do not wish for events to happen as you want. Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. Read that twice. Most men live the exact opposite program, demanding life match their plan, then suffering every single time reality refuses to cooperate. This does not mean pretending tragedy is secretly good. Marcus did not love the plague because he thought disease was a gift. He refused to spend his one life fighting a reality that had already happened and could not be changed. He wrote that the obstacle becomes the action. Notice what that means. Not that the obstacle is good, that the obstacle can become the raw material for something good, the moment you stop wasting energy wishing it were a different obstacle. When Nero, the Emperor Seneca had personally raised and tutored since childhood, ordered him to end his own life over a suspected plot, Seneca did not spend his final hours raging at the injustice, though by any measure he had the right to. Historical accounts describe him calmly comforting the friends around him, who were far more shaken than he was. A man who spent decades writing about how to live well, asked in the cruelest way possible to prove if any of it was true when it mattered most. And by every account it held. You will likely never face a test that extreme, but this week, maybe today, you will face a smaller version of the same choice, a moment where reality refuses to match what you wanted, and you decide, right there, whether to spend your energy arguing with what already happened, or to accept it fully and ask the only question that actually helps. What now? Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, take 60 seconds and ask one question. What is actually inside my control today? Not your whole life, just today. Your effort, your response, your integrity. Hold that list and let everything else fall out of your grip, because it was never yours to hold. Then tomorrow night, run the 3 questions. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What did I fail to do? Do it for 7 days straight, just 7, and notice, honestly notice, whether something in you feels different by the end of that week. Not because your bills disappeared, because the lens you are seeing them through quietly shifted. This is what living your best life actually means, according to men who thought about it harder than almost anyone in history. It does not mean an absence of hardship. Marcus buried children. Seneca was forced to end his own life by the boy he raised. Epictetus began life enslaved with a broken leg. None of them had easy circumstances. What they built, brick by brick, through daily practice, was an inner fortress. Marcus called it the inner citadel. A place inside you that no circumstance can invade, no person can occupy, no bad luck can plunder. That fortress is available to you right now, today, regardless of what your week looks like. Building it is the actual definition of living your best life, not the version sold to you online. The version that has survived, intact and useful, for 2,000 years. Before you go, Tell me honestly in the comments. Of everything we covered today, the dichotomy of control, premeditatio malorum, memento mori, the inner citadel, which one do you need to practice this week? Type it out. Saying it is the first step of actually doing it instead of just watching a video about it. If this gave you even one thing you are taking into tomorrow, do 3 things before you close this tab. Hit like, because it tells me this content is worth making more of. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because we release a new lesson every single week, each one built to add another stone to the inner citadel we are building together. And send this to one person you know is carrying something heavy right now, because this exact video, at this exact moment, might be the thing they needed to hear. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to make a happy life, that it is all within your own way of thinking. 2,000 years later, buried under more noise, more comparison, more distraction than he could have ever imagined, that sentence is still just as true and still just as available to you as it was to him. Your best life is not waiting somewhere out there for your circumstances to finally line up. It is waiting inside the next thought you choose not to obey. I will see you in the next one. Until then, remember, you do not need a better life to start living well. You need a better way of seeing the one you already have.